where fitness and life intersect. Today on the Do Hard Things Today podcast, life is definitely what we're talking about. Hal Morris, welcome back to the Do Hard Things Today podcast.
Great to be here.
Great to be here. Had a good race yesterday.
We did.
Yeah.
Acre around the lake.
Acre around the lake. We talked about that on a previous podcast. A lot of us here at the Hub City Runners group participated in that. Had a good race. Tough race. Very, very, very tough race. But anyway, we've been talking about racing and a lot of different things lately and everything that's up in the air. But today we're going to take a different turn. We talk about where life and fitness intersect. And today on the podcast, we are definitely talking about life, and we're going to talk about, for lack of a better term, maybe rising from the ashes. We've got a good friend of mine that is on the podcast. Her name's Allison Miller, and I'm just going to go ahead and warn you right now, if you're listening to this, you may want to grab some tissues because you're probably going to laugh a little bit at some points during this, and I can promise you're probably going to cry a little bit. Allison is going to tell her story, and it's a tough story. It's about as tough a thing as can imagine ever happening to someone that I saw this firsthand, and but then she's going to talk about how her family has taken a horrible tragedy and is now trying to use it for good to help others. And what we do is we hope this encourages you to no matter what has happened to you, no matter where you are, no matter what you're facing, that you, as hard as it is, you can pick up the pieces and you can start moving forward, however slowly that may be. So we want to welcome Allison Miller into the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome.
And Allison, you're not crying yet, which is a big thing. I'm just going to kind of give you a synopsis, and then I'm going to let her tell the story of her son. And Allison been in this community for a long time. Her and her husband Joey, and they got 3 boys. And I've been personally connected to all of her boys and to them through Little League coaching and just being around them. And this is a family I really care about and love those boys. And one of the boys, the oldest, Keegan, tragically, it's been about 7 months now. I'm going to let her kind of give you the details of what happened, but ultimately he passed away. And it was a very sudden thing that came it came completely out of nowhere. And she's going to tell that story, but then we're going to talk about some ways that you can get involved in and something that they've created to really carry on the legacy of Keegan and his spirit, and ways that we're going to help others with that. So Allison, tell us about Keegan.
So Keegan was 17 years old. He was a active, healthy teenage boy, normal teenage boy, hard-headed, funny, sweet. He wanted everybody to like him. He was a junior in high school. A good boy, smart boy. Like I said, very healthy. He would always tell people he never got sick, and he didn't. I can count on one hand in 17 years how many times he's been sick. So,
and let's clarify healthy. I mean, he was an athlete, played multiple sports. I watched him. He was a receiver in football, and I coached him for a couple. I mean, he was an athlete. When he had his shirt off, he's all ripped up, and I mean, he was extremely healthy, and so that just wanted to clarify that as well. So go on, tell us about Keegan, and let's, we're gonna have to move. We're about to get into some some deep waters here, and then they're tough waters to navigate. But take me back and take our audience back to just those days leading up to when things got really bad.
So he wasn't feeling good the week prior, the very end of January, beginning of February. He had a stuffy nose, just a lot of congestion, little cough. He just wasn't, he was feeling drained and just really tired, and he's normally on the go. I mean, he had ADHD, so those wheels are moving. He's moving. And
True story.
yes. And on that cell phone 24/7. So, and he wasn't as much on his phone, and for us that was a big, he was feeling bad. So, he went to the doctor. I made him an appointment at his pediatrician, and because it was a sick visit, he didn't get to see his doctor. So he saw a new pediatrician, and they said it's viral, let it run its course. So he was just still taking over-the-counter Mucinex, Tylenol, Advil. And 2 days later, he went to urgent care, and they said the same thing. It's viral, let it run its course. That was on Thursday or Friday of that week. Saturday, we got up. Camden, his youngest brother, had a basketball game, a D6 basketball game at Dorman, and we're about 10 minutes from the school. He was up and he didn't want to go. He said he still wasn't feeling good. So I was like, okay, that's fine. So he stayed home. We went to his basketball game. We came back home. He was sitting in the den watching TV and everything. So he went back and got in the bed, and later that afternoon, he started vomiting. He wasn't feeling good. So we kind of thought he's got the flu, because that's at work. A lot of my patients were the same way.
And this is, we deal with this stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We got 5 kids. You got 3.
Yes.
There's always something
Yes.
going on. So there's no red flags at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
So, gave him ginger ale. Joey went and bought Gatorade. Saltine crackers. He was able to keep that down. Went to bed that night. He went to sleep. He woke up. Well, we woke up to a loud thud, and he had fell out of his bed. He was trying to go to the bathroom, so we both we got up. Joey had actually fell asleep in the den, so he went in there, and I came out in the bedroom, and we got him to the bathroom, and he was complaining of his left leg a little bit at that point, so that it was kind of numb. He thought it had went asleep, which I think we've all had that happen a time or two. And so he went to the bathroom. Well, he actually fell off the commode, and Joey didn't see him hit his head, but we weren't sure if he hit his head or not. And so we went back and forth with, do we take him to the hospital? Because at this point, still, he's able to move. He's able to, if I would have thought for 1 second, my child is dying, I would have drove 100 miles an hour to the hospital with him. And so he said, no, I just want to go back to bed. So he walked back into the room with Joey, and he went back to bed. And Joey has to be at work at 7 a.m., so he's up a little before 6, and he checked on him, and I went to lock the door when he left for work, and he said that he had gave him some Advil because he said his head was hurting. So I went into his room, and the Advil was laying on his pillow, and I said, why don't you take your medicine? And he said, I tried, and then he started talking like very toddlerish, very babblish, he was trying to tell me he needed to go to the bathroom, and the way he said it was not a verbiage that a 17-year-old boy would have used. It was just very babyish, and so at that point, I'm hollering for Caden, and he comes in there, and we're trying to get him out of the bed, but he's, he wasn't big at all. He was little, but he was just he was dead weight.
Yeah.
And he was trying to help me with his arms, but at that point his left leg he couldn't do anything. And so we didn't make it to the bathroom. And I called 911. Caden tried to call his daddy. At this point, Joey's gotten to work, and so kept calling his job, and finally got in touch with him. The ambulance was there within 10 minutes. They knew right away that he was having a stroke, as did I. And so they headed off to the hospital. I got the boys settled. I got my stuff and headed out.
And so, but still at this point, and as traumatizing as I can only imagine it would be to watch your child have a stroke, still at this point, we feel like that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a stroke.
Right.
We don't know what that means, but he's heading to the hospital, and we're going to figure this out.
Right.
All right.
Truthfully, he's 17 and in good health, so I thought, okay, never crossed my mind what was going to happen. I just knew, okay, we got to get there. I knew my people at the hospital were going to take good care of him. They were going to get him in to where he needed to be. I had called my boss, my friend, and Karen, and they started working their magic of putting people on alert and knowing, and they started running tests and blood work, and he kind of was back and forth with the talking. He sometimes made sense, sometimes it was very babyish, and his left arm at that point, nothing on his left side moved. Yeah. Even when he talked, this side was just done. I mean, there was nothing moving on that side. The PICU pediatrician, Dr. Sammy, came in, and he started talking to us, and it was only a couple of minutes before the neurologist came busting through the doors, and her words to us were, "You need to say your goodbyes, you need to say your I love yous, we have to go to surgery now." Wow. This is where it's very hard for me, that if I would have known that's the last time that he was going to look at me and say something to me, I would have held him 10 more minutes. When you're rushing, you as a parent are just like, okay, take them, get it, whatever you need to do done. And he was very scared. He just kept saying they're going to cut me, and he would point to his head, and so he knew what was going on. I feel for sure he knew that, he understood what she was saying, and we said our love yous. We told him he was going to be okay, and as a parent, your job is to protect them, and even though I know, and I know what the doctors have told me, but in my mind as a parent, I didn't protect him.
Well, and we're going to pause here because we're about to get into which was probably, and I know me looking back on it and being with y'all for a lot of it, that I can't imagine for you, it's probably got to feel like the longest and fastest days of your life over the next few days. But I do want to touch on that of, Allison, I watched you with him, and I mean, you did everything you could. And there's and this is why your story is so powerful, and it's so, I don't know if scary is the right word, or I think it touches everybody that's got kids in a certain place, because it's everything you've described up to the point where 911 was called and he had a stroke has happened to every single parent out there has had kids in that position. So we talk about the deep waters, and we're going we're just going to walk through this and kind of talk about, from that point forward, things started moving pretty fast, and let's just kind of, with what you're comfortable speaking of, let's talk about those next few days.
So they kind of rushed us off to a waiting room. They rushed him out, prepped him for emergency brain surgery at this point to relieve swelling. So, I've heard of people having swelling before. I've seen miracles in our own community of people with brain surgery. So I was like, okay, he's healthy. Everything's working in his good. He's just healthy. He's not, he doesn't have any underlying issues. So they rush him off. Feels like forever sitting in that waiting room, waiting for a call. Every time the phone would ring, we would jump up, and it was never for us. And so by this time, I grew up in a very small community in Emmons, and then Joey grew up, of course, in District 6. And so by this time, word is out through all of the schools. Keegan knew everybody. It didn't matter District 1 or 6. And so by this time, the hospital's getting pretty packed. Lots of coaches, lots of representatives from both districts were there praying with us, not just sitting, looking at us. That, like, they were there, they were involved, they were, they cared. And so we finally got word that Dr. Mina did not call. She personally came to us, and she said the surgery went great. He did great. All the infection was out. There was an infection pocket there that she was able to get every bit of it. There was a lot of swelling, but the next 24 to 48 hours were critical. So we were like, okay, great. We're through the hard part. Now it's a scary part, but we're gonna do fine. So they get us up to his room in PICU, and just kind of overwhelmed with all the people. We were very grateful, but so much is being thrown at you. It's very overwhelming. And, some of the stuff I understood from working at the hospital, some of it was all new to me. I still was, and so he was very hard-headed. So even with all the medicine, he was moving. So I was just excited, because even sedation and being, vented, that he was still, those legs were moving and those arms were moving. So I was like, this is a blessing, we've got movement. This is good. So, probably a couple of hours into being in that room, they do neuro checks every 5, 10, 15 minutes after somebody's had brain surgery. And the nurse was just, I saw her face, because I studied their faces every time they came in, every beep, every machine. And I saw her face. So I remember elbowing Joey, and we were sitting in this little chair. Both of us were squeezing it together right beside him. And I elbowed him, and I said, something's wrong. And so we both stood up, and she walks out of the room and comes back in, and his right pupil, I think it was his left pupil was blown. And she said that was a big sign of increased swelling. So instead of his swelling coming down like what should be happening, his swelling was going up. So they rush him off to an emergency CT scan. They get him back what felt like super fast. I'm sure it was quite a few minutes, but Dr. Mina calls and says, get him back. We have to do an emergency craniotomy. So we're going back in for surgery number 2 of his brain. You're opening back up my child. You're going back into his head. So they rush him back in. They let us stay in the pre-op area, and I just remember begging them to save him. Do what you have to do. If something goes wrong, I need you to save him, no matter what methods it takes. I need you to bring my boy back out of this. And, none of them ever said, it's going to be fine, it's going to be. They just said, we promise you that we will do everything we can do. And they were very, very kind to us. They were very trying to console us. And they get him down. We get down to the waiting room, and it starts piling back full of a lot of people.
What day is this? Just to give some people perspective.
Super Bowl Sunday. So February 2nd.
Yeah. So this is all happened.
Mm-hmm.
So Saturday. Mm-hmm. So the next day,
mm-hmm.
this is going on. Okay.
Very fast.
Yeah.
Very. Like you said, we've all gone to the doctor and they've said, "Oh, it's viral, let it run its course," or they've not. You're frustrated as a parent because they're not giving your kid a medicine when they really didn't need one, but you just want them to feel better.
That's right.
And so by this point, sitting in that waiting room again, nobody's there but us because all the other surgeries, were elective surgeries, and this is, not something any parent thinks you're going to be sitting there doing. And we wait and wait and wait, and this one felt like forever. And Dr. Mina comes back in and talks to us and says that there was no infection this time, so that was a plus. She had gotten all the infection, but the swelling was just it was just getting worse. So she did a craniotomy and took out the piece of his brain on the right side, and to give his brain more room to swell, which is what it was okay and what should happen. So I feel like nothing about it was normal, but I feel like she was just so upfront with us. I felt like, all my trust was in her, and she was great. She did everything she could. And so they get him back to the floor, and he's heavily covered on his right side because there's nothing there. Yep. His brain is there's nothing protecting it at this point. So we kind of send people home because we're exhausted, and they had us a room literally right next to his that we could sleep in, but I was not budging from that seat. And
yeah, you weren't going anywhere.
No. So the next hours were very critical. We knew that. He continued to move, so I was like, I was just proud of him because I was like, he is a fighter. He's gonna come through this, and he's gonna be really ticked off because they shaved his head, but he's gonna be really mad about that. But he's gonna come through this, and so he had a 4 a.m. CT scan to check the swelling, and so Joey and I this overwhelming feeling. We had just been praying all night. I just knew, I was like, she's going to come in here and tell us. She is so proud of our boy. We're moving to a room today. And she comes in, and she has clearly been crying. And she looks at us, and it's 7 a.m. Monday morning, and she says, you need to call your family. And so I stand up, and I was like, I don't need to call them. They'll be up here later. Joey's here. And she said, no, you need to call your family. We've done all we can do. And so my wheels are turning, and I'm starting to process slowly what she's telling me. And
and that was probably the point in time when you look back that you probably for the first time came face to face with the reality of, okay, all this started happening on Saturday. We may not bring him home. And so as you're processing that, and then things are still moving fast, where do we go from there?
I called my sister in Kentucky. I told her she needed to get here. I started going 100 miles an hour, which is normally how I move and work anyways with my thoughts. And I called my older sister. I said, you need to get our daddy up here now. Him and Keegan were best buds and very close. And I called the schools. I called Gable, friend of ours, teaches 6th grade there. Camden had already been dropped off at school by this point, so Jody gets him and gets him to where he needs to go. And Caden was about to be dropped off by a friend, and we got them in time, so they brought them. They call a meeting, and we get to, I think you got there.
Yeah, that's
about
when
that
I got
time.
there. Yeah.
And they call a meeting, and we go into this boardroom, and they kind of laid our options out and said, you know, this is the options. This is what you can do. They use the word hope. And so I'm thinking, okay, there's still a chance. You know, that morning I was being told there's nothing you can do, but I was raised in a very good Christian home that my mom and daddy always told us, you know, it doesn't matter what they say until it's God's time. You're not going to go. So whatever they could do, and I think they already knew my answer because they had already set up transport. They were already ready for me. They just had for me to sign the papers, and so I was ready to roll to Greenville, and that was his best option because they have all the pediatric stuff that they can do a little more. So there was no question, you know, if it would have been flying to wherever, we would have done that. So they set up transport, and Kevin knows this. My big thing was we were not going to leave him by himself. I didn't want him to be alone for 1 second, and so my friend Amber came, and she came and sat with him, and our friend Georgie, that's over the PICU at Regional, she sat with him while we headed to Greenville, and then that kind of started a whole nother circus over there. So.
Yeah, and so this was on a Monday.
Monday
okay, so
morning.
we're really 2 full days into this, and we're heading to, and I was in that meeting, and it was, you know, at that point, you know, I think and you, I don't want to speak for you, but from being there and from just the conversations we had, I think at that point we're holding out for a miracle. That's what we're holding out for.
Absolutely.
Is a miracle. And so we get transported in Greenville. They have a specialized pediatric unit there. And so we get there, and then that kind of a whole new chapter starts then.
We get there, and you know, we're in the South, so everybody wants to feed you because they know you hadn't ate, you hadn't. So their big thing was, y'all need to eat, y'all need to eat. So we, of course, got there before Keegan did, and we had already been prepped and talked to that he was going straight into an immediate MRI. So they kind of had a better look on their ends and a fresh look of what they were dealing with. So we get there, we go downstairs, pick at our food, and just kind of wait till we get word. And Keegan's best friend Nate had came, and so he let us know that they had arrived. So we fly upstairs, we do the MRI checklist with the nurse. 2 or 3 of the doctors came out, and so the whole way there, I'm like, we have hope. We're you hate to use the word excited, but I'm like excited that it's a whole it's another group of doctors that this is what they know, this is what they do day to day. They're going to fix him and we're going to take him home, you know. And so I we go behind they take us, it was a locked unit, so they take us behind the doors and the doors close and it's just Joey and I. And Joey and I just look at each other, and I guess we knew exactly what each other was thinking, and because the hope drained out of both of us at that.
Well,
minute.
And you know that's probably, you know, and from being involved in it and watching it, that's one of the first times you guys had probably been able to just be completely alone and start processing what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, good night. I mean, what a whirlwind that you guys were right in the middle of, and then now you show up there, and it's like, I got to imagine some of the emotion was, okay, this is, yeah, they've got to fix him, but what if they can't? You know, I mean, and you know, as mom and dad, they're just dealing with these emotions.
Well, and you know, the year leading up to this was a hard year for us. I've been very open about, you know, he was 17. It was a struggle. He was hard-headed. He didn't always listen. I used to say some days I didn't like him, but I always loved him.
Yeah. And he knew that.
Yes. And
he's hard-headed like his mama.
Yeah. And so I kept thinking, God, why? Like, we are at such a good place. Why, you know? And so the doctor tells us, he's like, you know, they were very gracious and very, I mean, you met them. They were phenomenal. And he said, I have to be honest with you. We're an uphill battle here. And I said, that's okay. My boy is a fighter. Like, he gets the last word most times. Yeah. So he's gonna fight. And I'm gonna fight 10 times harder right beside him. So you've met your match here. Like, we're gonna fight for him, and he's gonna fight. So we had kind of lost hope, like I said, but then I was like, you know what, Keegan, like, he's gonna fight. He's not gonna give up. And so they go to the MRI. That felt like forever. That did take a lot longer. By the time they got him to his room, got him hooked up, there was lots of new machines. He was starting to swell, you know, his legs and his arms, and that was really hard because, like I said, he wasn't a big kid, so seeing that swelling, extra swelling, was hard. They get him into his room, and we kind of all get to go back and talk to the doctors. And before we went back to his room, there was 6 of them, and they took us into just an area where we could sit down and talk with them. And my uncle went back with us, and they kind of gave us best case scenarios. If he does come out of this, what you're looking at is a child that will never use the left side. He will have to have a feeding tube. He will never walk. He will never play another sport. He will be 24-hour care. That's okay. Because guess what? That's what I do. So I was like, that's fine. I will take care of him. That's okay. And, you know, as a mama, as a daddy, you know, he lived, breathed, ate sports. Like, that's him. And he would have never wanted to live that way. But as a mama, you're grasping at whatever best case scenario they're giving you.
Well, I mean, that's kind of your hope, because I mean, you know, to use a parallel of what we talk about a lot on here, you're in the middle of a marathon right now during this. I mean, you're battling for your son, you're advocating for him, you're there for him. You wouldn't I know there was a couple of times where I literally had to tell you when they were, look, you go stand in the hallway, and I promise you he won't be alone. And you know, you're in this battle, and you're now. I mean, it's like, and for our listeners, you know, you're probably feeling this. I mean, not like you did, but there's this progression downward, and now the hope is, I just want to be alive, you know, and you know, you didn't even have time to really, and I know a lot of the sports stuff, but you didn't really even have time to start processing of, well, do I really want that for him?
Right.
You know, I mean, you're thinking, and I love my son, and I'm here. So we get over to Greenville, you know, and there's some rough news, and then we we're kind of heading towards the end at this point. So talk about that.
They put the pressure monitor in. I think you were in there when they did that. That's really hard to watch.
Yeah.
So in our pressure, a normal person's pressure was, I think they said 5.
Yeah.
And if you're kind of sick, maybe 10 is like a higher one. His was 56.
Yeah.
So it was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just it's kind of screw looking thing that goes in the top, but like my eyes didn't leave the monitors. I studied them.
And that's, I mean, you know, I love Keegan, and well, you know, I love all these boys and stuff around here, and a lot of that stuff that went on was real hard for me to watch, and I'm not his mama or his daddy, and you guys, I mean, you never flinched, you know, for him. I mean, and you know, it's at about this time, we'll bring in a kind of a second part of this story. At about this time, and you probably could have never imagined this happening, there started to be this, I mean, this became like a big, not just our community here, but a kind of a regional story of what's going on here. I mean, of what's happening. And so, you know, you're juggling these things of your son is, I mean, well, for all intents and purposes, you're watching your son on his last days,
he's
but
dying. Yeah.
He's dying.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there is this attention and to what's going on in this story. Do you remember when that kind of became real to you too, of wow, something, okay, and I know it's hard to, gosh, we're in that room, you know, it's kind of hard to get yourself outside that room, but you started seeing this.
Yes, and you thank God for you, because you helped navigate a lot of that. So we didn't have to, our phones didn't matter, like they stayed in the corner, and but the news got wind, and then other news stations, and then not just region, but it made it to Charleston. It was on the news in North Carolina, and he would have ate every bit of this.
Oh, yeah, he would have loved that.
Like, he would have been all over that, and just, you know, the schools were so, you know, they were trying to help, and Dorman and Chapman, like they were just, you know, all over it, trying to help and navigate, and to get people there to, you know, because at this point he's still fighting. We're still fighting for them, but they're trying to do their best and prepare and fight for these kids that are going to be, you know, left at these schools. And the news started asking, you know, I wanted no part of it. I don't like to be in front of a camera. This right here is hard enough, and it's not in front of a camera. So Keegan didn't get that spotlight from me. So the news started asking, I think you did some stuff, some quotes and stuff for us, and my sisters, I kind of left that to them, because I I wasn't leaving. I know I've said that 10
Yeah.
times, but I wasn't leaving to talk to somebody.
Mm.
So it started kind of going, kind of spinning out of control, really. I mean, and for the good. I mean, and lots of people were messaging us, people that I never knew. I mean, just saying, hey, we're praying for you, or hey, I know somebody this has happened to, or kind of the same story. And
Well, and you'd come out every so often, you'd come out to the waiting room where really the close friends and family were up top, right next to the room, just to kind of tell people you appreciate it, and then you'd head right back. But downstairs was a huge waiting room, and I know when I'd leave, I'd go, and it'd just be slam packed of people. I mean, and I remember distinctly when I started getting messages from people, and it was like media and things, and I can remember distinctly thinking, like, wow, this is going to, his story is going to turn into something that we could have never imagined it being. And I mean, I remember thinking that, of holy cow, there are, I mean, all of the news stations, everybody's, wanting to, what's going on, talk about Keegan's story, talk about him, and all these things. And so you're balancing all of this, and then, and I know it's got to be hard, so I don't want you to have to go through all the gory details of that, but you're kind of in this transition period of, and it's hard, but sitting there the whole time, you kind of get in this of, you start coming to grips with the fact that we're probably gonna lose him, and so those final couple of days, and as just and again, we don't have to get through all the stuff, but I mean, it's a tough process. It's a really tough process.
It is probably, it's horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible. So we got through Monday. I think Monday night, Tuesday, and you said you kind of knew when it clicked with us that we weren't kind of in, okay, what do we have to do to save him? We were it had kind of clicked. We kind of knew, okay, we started processing stuff. And
well, I can remember you as a mom saying, you may not even remember this, but I remember you said to me, it was like, I want him to have his dignity. And you went into that point, you were being a mom, and you were loving him, and you were protecting him, and you were doing everything that you could to take care of him. And even though they were doing a real good job taking care of you, you were doing that, and then we kind of, then it comes. And
yeah, he got his baths, he got
his
cologne, he got his teeth brushed.
I mean, he was a whole lot cleaner than I was.
Shaved.
Yeah.
He that was him, and he deserved that.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do it anymore. So.
And we're going to talk in a second about what you're doing now, but I think the biggest impact, even throw the media stuff out, throw all that stuff out, was, he had made the decision that he wanted to be an organ donor. And for those of you that are out there, I would encourage you to definitely do that. Definitely be an organ donor. And, now Keegan's legacy, not only the legacy he has, we're going to talk about in a second, Keegan's went other, is his legacy is still living. And so talk us through that and that, kind of that process and what that meant to you and Joey and the boys, and, then we'll kind of step to that next step.
So he, it's about 4 months prior to this, he had, well, his exact words were, what do I need him for when I'm gone? And, that echoes in the back of your mind now at this time, where it's like, I didn't expect 4 months later to be saying, okay, you can have those. Never thought through our mind not to honor that. That's what he wanted, and that's what we did for, to honor that. So he ultimately passed away February 5th, Wednesday morning, at 10 a.m. That was a rough week. There was a tornado. There was snow.
That's right. Yeah.
There was flooding. It was crazy. It was just crazy that week. And I said, we always say he was just too big for this world, and he needed to be up there in heaven where he could roam and be big enough for everybody, and we always talk about he had a big head, and because everything he was going to do it better. And so, but he passed away that Wednesday morning. Like Kevin said, that's a hard, when they declare somebody ultimately brain dead. That's a hard thing to watch. And we went through it 3 times, because he was still fighting the first time. Yeah. So, we were very blessed. They, procurement team, they were very good to us through Sharing Hope, South Carolina, Donate Life, South Carolina. They took very good care of us. We were allowed to stay with him. So I tell people, through his gift, we got an extra 48 hours with him, where most people don't. I was able to snuggle him. I was able to bathe him. I was able to pick his hair out, just, we read him every message that everybody sent. We just sang to him. But I was able to get up in the bed with him and snuggle him. And on Friday, I guess 2:00-ish, sometime that afternoon, they did an honor walk for him. And that, if you've never been a part of one of those,
oh, it's amazing. I mean,
I
had never seen anything like it.
Mm-hmm. They're a hero. And he, this, he always wanted to be a hero. Yeah. And I'm so thankful that he was able to be the hero for 4 people. He saved 4 people's lives, and countless others with his bones and tissue. The only thing I did not let go was his big brown eyes, because I couldn't as a mama. But the neat thing about organ donation, it gets kind of a bad rap, like people, I don't think a lot of people truly understand it. I think they think if you go to the hospital and you're an organ donor, they're not going to try to save you, but that is far from the truth.
Yeah, and it's 2 completely different groups. It's not, when you're an organ donor, it's not the hospital that's in charge. It is an organ. It's a different group. So it's not like there's like this, for lack of a bit, just jockeying of, well, he's probably gonna die anyway. So let's not know. It's, so they did everything they could, but then when you're in that waiting period after he's declared passed away, they keep it functioning. But actually during that time, they're locating and they're connecting to the people who need these organs to live.
Yes. And
so there's this, through the tragedy of what you're dealing with, just imagine you're on the other side of that phone and they're like, we've got a heart for you. We've got a lung for whatever it may be. And there are people that got those calls, and you can probably choose at some point if you want to know who they are, but there are people got those calls that are living today because of Keegan and the decision, his last selfless act for them. So there are literally, and that's the thing about organ donation is literally breathing and living because of that act. And, and I think that it was, you think about it, gosh, you start Saturday morning and then Friday you're walking down that hall and gosh, I remember, gosh, it was real. It was just an overwhelming week, but you're kind of in, we're in friend mode of how do we take care of them? What can we do for them to take care of them? But I remember y'all going down and right after that, the organ walk, and you guys went downstairs, got anything, and took off. And I've thought about that often. Of wow, go back to that Saturday, and then gosh, what a week. What
think that he has a sinus infection on Saturday, and on Wednesday your child is gone.
He's gone. And so we talked about the beginning of rising from the ashes. So I know for me but I can't imagine anything worse. I mean, look, take me, but don't take any of my kids. And so you're in the middle of the worst possible thing that could happen. And how does this Keegan's way rise from the ashes?
So it's Keegan's way because, like I mentioned earlier, everything most of the time was his way or no way.
Mm-hmm.
As most of us, we want stuff to go our way. So it was just kind of fitting that it was Keegan's way. And his logo is actually a heart with his actual heartbeat in it. And
you've got that on your arm.
Yes.
And you actually got, and for people that don't like, and she's got her heartbeat, the little, well, I don't know what it's probably got a technical name, the rhythm that goes up and down, but you can actually have that done.
Yes.
And I didn't know that before. And so you can have that done, but so you're still processing all this, and now the Keegan's way, because I think you had to think at some point of, wow, all this attention has come. There's all this interest. There's all these people like, we want to do something. So you come up with the name of Keegan's Way, and tell people about Keegan's Way and what you're doing. What are you trying to do with Keegan's Way to honor your son?
So he has a page on Facebook. It's Keegan Johnson Memorial Scholarship Fund. And Keegan's Way was just kind of a way to, my biggest fear was that people would forget him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a hard person to forget. I mean, he had friends of all different, just different groups of friends. He was a friend to everybody. That I have learned so much about him since, and I have learned so much better to not judge through him, and to not be so quick to judge somebody. And so we took that in hopes to, we opened up a scholarship in his name, and it will be given May of 2021, which would be his graduation year. He would be a senior this year. One scholarship will go to a student in District 1 at Chapman High School, which is where I grew up, but Keegan attended a year and a half there in high school. And then one will go ultimately to his home at Dorman High School, which is where he grew up and was attending. And we are super excited. I am, every day is hard, but I have kind of thrown myself into his scholarship, and we have lots of things planned for it, lots of fundraisers planned for it. My goal is $21,000 by May to be able to split. And it will be a male athlete. It doesn't have to be football, baseball, or basketball, what he played. It can be swimming, golf, lacrosse, anything. It doesn't matter. but it will be a male athlete, and they will be. We're trying to come up with a way, whether it's a paper they write or something fun. I don't want it to be anything. Seniors already have enough stress on them, and now added this pandemic. So I want it to be something fun that they enjoy writing or they enjoy doing. And then will be people in the community. We have talked to you about it, and just, and then ultimately it'll come down that we'll choose and to be able to present it. And I'm so excited. It doesn't have to be the smartest kid. It doesn't have to be, the 4.0. I just want it to be somebody that like us, that probably would have had to take a loan out, or, and I want it to be a kid that wants to go to school, and they are trying, and
so. You'll know. I think you'll know who that is. I mean, whenever they apply for it, I think you'll know. I think it'll probably hit you of that's the one. That's the one. So how'd this 5K come about? And for those of you looking, you can, tell us how the 5K came about. Then I'll tell them how they can figure out what it is.
So I am an avid follower of your stuff, and and of Miss Jill's. I always follow y'all's stuff, and for Hub City Runners, and Do Hard Things, and I've done boot camp, I've done other stuff, and so I got to thinking, I was like, COVID has ruined just about everything that we've come up with to do. We've had to postpone our golf tournament twice, and so Sharing Hope did a virtual 5K for Minority Donor Month, and so signed all my family up without telling them, and I was like, we could do a 5K. We could do this, So I messaged you, and then I messaged Jill, and I was like trying to pick y'all's brains, and I was like, if anybody will know, they'll know. And we happened to be at the beach the same time, and so we set up a time to talk, when we came back, and then Jill put us in touch with Kathleen, and then it has just rolled and spiraled and just become super exciting. And
Keegan turned his mama into a race director now, right?
We're Jill and Kathleen, but I'm just kind of like, I can push it and plug it, but I am so excited. And I told them both when I left after our meeting that day, I have not been excited about anything in this. Ultimately what it comes down to is I want to be able to give these kids, school's expensive.
Yep,
I mean,
that's right.
And I don't have him here to pay for school. And I want to be able to say here, hopefully this will help in some sort of way, and hopefully it'll take the burden off of a mama or a daddy, or, and to be able to help. So that's what he would want.
Yeah.
That's what he would ultimately have wanted to do, to help somebody. He had great qualities. He had some bad qualities. And I've always said, and you've heard this numerous times, I did not want him to be portrayed as perfect, because none of us are, and he definitely was not. But he was a helper, and he was a giver, and he would have gave you the shirt off his back, and he would want, he had dreams of going to school. He wanted to play ball at Clemson, and he, so he would definitely want somebody to be able to be helped.
Well, and he cared about others. I mean, he was a knucklehead 17-year-old. I mean, that's what they are. That's what we all are. Yeah. At that point in our lives. But okay, so we don't ask you to do many things here on the podcast, but we're going to ask you to do something, and then we're going to talk about a part B of this challenge that's actually got to do with Mama over there. But here's the deal: this is going to be a virtual race. Okay, we know coronavirus is going on, all those deals. So there's going to be a virtual race, and the date is October 23rd through it ends November 1st, right? So what you can do, you can go to runsignup.com, and Hal,
Yeah, I'll put all the links.
Yeah, he
in the
knows
show
how to
notes.
do all that. He'll put all the links in the show notes, but you can go to runsignup.com, search for Keegan's Way, KeegansWay, KeegansWay. Go to Keegan's Way. If you're local, we're actually going to have a course set up that you can do this on in that time period, starting October 24th, up at Dorman High School. We'll have details of all that coming, but we'll actually have a course that's a 3.1 mile 5K course there that you can go and you can run local. If you're going to do that, it's $30, and you can sign up on Run Sign Up, or you can I guess you can come in the store, right? Hub City Run. You can come in the Hub City Runner store, get signed up for that, get your T-shirt and everything that goes along with that. If you're not, we got listeners literally all over the world. We're asking you. Look, there's no races. Well, I mean, every now and then there's a race. I mean,
we've had a few.
I mean, every now and then you'll find a race, but there's not many. And so what we're asking you to do is to go and sign up for this. This money is going to help other youth. You just heard a mama pour her heart out and come in here bravely to tell the story of her son and just the worst week of her life. And now they're doing something. We talk about rising from the ashes. They're doing something positive, just like Keegan did when he gave his organs. We're doing something positive to be able to help others. We're asking you to sign up for this. Go to Run Sign Up. Sign up for this. Do the virtual, and it tells you what to do there. It tells you how you can submit, that you did it and everything like that. But no matter where you are, we want you to go sign up for this, because we want to blow that. We want to blow that goal of the $21,000 to be able to give away to deserving kids. We want you to do that. So, like I said, we don't try to sell you anything here. We don't ask anything of you, but we're coming to you with an ask on this to participate in it. So now, part B. So we've got a part. Now tell them about your challenge. Tell them what you're doing. Don't shake your head. There's no. I had to jerk your son up by his neck many times out on the football field, and so just like I had to jerk Keegan up, we're probably going to jerk you up a couple of times during this. But let's tell us about your challenge and why that's important to you.
So, I was an athlete growing up, all through high school. Not going to make any excuses because I've made them long enough. But I turned 37 years old a month literally after my son passed away, and my mom died from early onset Alzheimer's disease, and my brother died 11 months to the day of my son on my birthday the year before, so last year. So from a massive heart attack. So I need to lose weight. I need to get healthy more so than anything. I have 2 other boys here. And I have one, in heaven that ultimately I need to do this for all of them, but I need to do it for myself. We're going to kind of do it as a family. So we have.
Did y'all know about that?
Yeah.
2 other boys are there sitting on the couch. They're like, oh man, what'd you get us into?
Our youngest one plays football, so he's done your boot camps, and he so they've kind of gotten at that age where they're wanting to work out and do, and so but I weighed this morning. I have pictures of it. It's and I will weigh in again on November 1st.
Yep, November 1st,
which is the date the race ends.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So I have set a goal of 20 pounds.
Okay.
For myself.
Very, very reachable.
Mm-hmm. Now, Keegan does get his goals as far as that where he can do better from me. So I do think I can blow the 20 pounds out the water. But I'm going to say 20 pounds because I know that I can hit 20 pounds.
Yep. Yeah. So here's how we're going to do this. And we're going to, every week, we're going to come to you on our Facebook page, the Do Hard Things Today. There's several ways you can connect with us on Facebook. Let's talk about the Keegan. The Facebook page they need to go to be a part of Keegan's Way
is Keegan, Keegan Johnson Memorial Scholarship Fund, and it's a picture of him, and it's on Facebook. He does have an Instagram page that's the same, but we really post more through Instagram or through Facebook, and he has we have Keegan's Way at outlook.com is our email address.
Okay. We'll put that in the show notes, and we'll put that on our Facebook page too, where you can find it. If you're on Facebook, just go to Do Hard Things Today, search that up. There's a page that you can like or follow. There's about 13,000 people on that one, but also you can go to the Hub City Upstate Running. We got a Facebook group there. We've also got the Do Hard Things Today group, this nutrition, fitness, all that kind of stuff. Free. We're not peddling anything on you, but just go there, and we'll put these things on weekly. We're kind of going to do a report on how you're doing to keep you accountable, and what we're going to ask people to do, as well as jumping in and being a part of the 5K, which we definitely want you to do. We're going to allow people to pledge, and they can pledge $1 or $5 per pound that you're going to lose. So if you lose 20 pounds and they pledge $1, they're going to give $20 to the scholarship fund. If they pledge $5 and you lose 20 pounds, they're going to be giving $100 to the scholarship fund. And as a challenge, we're here because, because I loved your son, and I want to see you, because I'm gonna hold you accountable to it. But we're going to, for that 20 pounds, we'll give you $50 a pound to seed into this fund, which would be up to $1,000. So November 1st, if you've lost 20 pounds, then you're gonna get $1,000 from us to seed into the scholarship fund.
That's awesome.
And we're gonna get these other people that are gonna jump in, and they can give $1, if I can give 10, you can get whatever you want to give, to be able to do that. And so you can follow. Gosh, you heard her heart, and I can't imagine having the guts to come on a podcast and relive this story. I mean, I watched you in real time live it, but then to come back and relive this story because you're wanting to see good things happen for others. I mean, that's all it's about. I mean, telling that story is no good to you. Doesn't make you feel any better. Telling that story helps others, and that's what you're doing. And so the two ways you can participate is, number one is go to runsignup.com, search for Keegan's Way. Hal will put all this in the notes, and participate in this virtual 5K that's going to take place from October 23rd to November 1st. The second way is to jump on, and let's hold Allison accountable to this challenge she's in. And Allison, I just encourage you this, how you took care of your baby as he was laying there, and you literally watched him take his last breath. I want you to think about him whenever you're struggling, and I want you to think about that big smile, and I want you to think about all the hard-headed times, all the great times, all those other things, and how proud he is of his mama and what she's doing right now to carry on his legacy and to help others, because that's what Keegan was about. He wanted to help others. He was a friend to everyone, and now people aren't going to forget about Keegan. Don't worry about that, because they're not going to. And now what's going to happen is not only are Keegan's organs carrying 4 other people on right now in their lives, but he's also going to be able to help other people fulfill their dreams of going to college and making a better way for themselves. And I think that truly is Keegan's way. And Allison, I just got to tell you that, I mean, we've done a bunch of podcasts, and none of them have been this, I guess, emotional and as much just raw life as what it is. But I can promise you this, that there's people listening all over the world to this, and they're going to know about Keegan now, and they're going to know, and through that microphone, they have heard a mother's heart, and now I just got to believe they're going to jump on board too and participate with Keegan's way. So thank you so much for coming. And when I was going to add, I almost hesitated. I was like, no, people need to hear this, and we're going to give them an opportunity to be a part of what's going on. So Hal, when we talk about where life and fitness intersect, my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Allison, if you need any tips or ideas for your weight loss and fitness, there's an awesome podcast called Do Hard Things Today that you can.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, we're going
or if you need some shoes, we can hook you up with those too.
Yes, yes.
Well, we're gonna work up a plan for Miss Allison. She's gonna be a lean, mean fighting machine come November 1st, and that's just gonna be the beginning for your journey. And that's your way of, like I said, you know what? Yeah, and like I tell you, you'll never recover from this. This side of heaven, I don't think we ever recover from losing a child. But what you can do is you can move forward, and you can honor his memory as you're helping others. And I think that's the way we heal and rise from the ashes. My goodness, guys, go do what you're supposed to do. Sign up for this race, pledge as she's taking on this weight loss challenge, and let's blow this thing out of the water. And we're going to be once a week. We're going to give you an update of what's going on and where she is on her challenge. And if she needs a good little kick in the tail, we're going to give her that. But I got a feeling she's going to blow that 20 pounds out of the water, because she's going to have Keegan right there in her ear, encouraging you and giving you what you need to get through it. We say every time we sign off, if you'll do the hard things today, tomorrow will take care of itself. And Allison, you have done the hardest thing anybody's ever done on this podcast by coming in and telling your story. And we appreciate you being willing to do that. So for Allison, her two knucklehead boys over there that have actually been quiet, which is amazing, Joey, her husband, and Hal Morris right here, we want to thank you for listening. Share this with people. People need to hear this story. And it is a story of hope and a story of rising from the ashes. So we just want to remind you, do the hard things today. Tomorrow will take care of itself.